Hello and welcome to 50,000 hours of developer experience talk, specifically our developer experience. We have come here from Capital One UK. We're going to talk about what our dev journey was like in 2024, where we took on a big goal to try and save 50,000 engineering hours across our UK business. Throughout the next sort of 50 minutes or so, we're hopefully going to take you through, firstly, why we wanted a goal and why we came to this goal in particular. We're going to have a look at what we did to sort of get going with it and how it went. And we're going to finish off with some sort of, did we win? Did we celebrate? That kind of good stuff. I'll call out at the start, there is a Slido. If we have time at the end, we'll answer some questions. If not, please come over to us afterwards. But naturally, we should also start with some introductions. I've already said we're from Capital One UK. We're a credit card business. That's not really interesting. What is more interesting is we ship lots of in-house code to the AWS cloud. And we are part of that. My name's Clifford-Clarke. I'm a senior engineer working in the developer experience space after a handful of years working in product delivery. And my partner in crime is going to introduce himself and then take you through what 50,000 hours looks like.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, everyone. So I'm Serge. I'm a tech lead at Capital One. I lead a team of engineers focused on the developer experience. And my background also includes stuff around autonomous vehicles and maybe AI. But that is going to come later. With that said, we'll go straight in. For us to take you on our journey, we first have to sort of understand this concept. It is we all see the number. There's lots of zeros. But what does it actually mean? 50,000 hours. Let's try to sort of visualize that and. Play along, please. We'll need you to have your hand up for the next 3 slides. So who here has seen Lord of the Rings? Hand up if you've seen Lord of the Rings, the whole trilogy. Okay, extended, hopefully 11 hours. Great. You might be wondering, it's a great film and trilogy, naturally. With 50,000 hours, if we were to save you 50,000 hours, you could see it 4,000 times. Now, some of you have done that. I see some nods. Yeah, you've seen it 4,000 times. Great. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. Maybe not that many times. Next up, please keep your hand up. If you've gone to uni, do you have a bachelor's degree? Hand up. Bachelor degree. Yeah, great. Plenty of us. With 50,000 hours, you could actually complete 2 bachelor degrees because that comes out to just under 6 years, 50,000 hours. So go ahead and enjoy your new degrees, do economics or something on AI probably, let's face it. And then one last thing we'll go through. So please keep your hand up if you've ever been to the moon. No? Oh, wow, one person. Wow, I'm not sure if you're just trolling me, but if you actually have gone to the moon, I put something on the Slido and we'll talk about it. But yeah, we wanted to sort of show you guys that so when Apollo 11 first went to the moon, it took them 3 days one way and then 3 days back. So it would, with 50,000 hours, you could fly to the moon and back 250 times. And naturally, because we're a financial company, I can't disclose our strategy and what we'll do over the next few years. But if you ever see Capital One put someone on the moon, now you know who made it possible. Right. So now that we understand how big that number is, Tom, I'm going to hand back over to Tom, and he's going to talk to you about the why.
Yeah, the why. The why is really, really important. It was featured in a few talks yesterday. I think it's already been featured in a talk this morning as well. But the word why, it gets a slide of its own because it's so critical. I imagine everyone in this room is very familiar with goal setting. They've probably set goals, personal, business, whatever, to go and achieve something that gives you great direction and you understand hopefully what you're doing. But the why is a fundamental part of that. And that's that why powers why everyone turns up to work every day to work towards these goals. And fundamentally, it's just critical to having a goal that you believe in and want to actually fulfill. Our why comes from us, like I say, working in developer experience. I just want to explain what developer experience means to us, at least in 2024. It's a unification of 3 teams underneath it. So the team looking at enterprise tech. Our folks are, Capital One UK is part of Capital One America and Canada as well. They have lots of cool tech. We use a fair amount of it. It's all good. We've got a team that makes sure that sort of comes into the UK nice and smoothly. We've got a dedicated dev tools team that makes stuff sort of specifically for the UK business, making sure that we can deliver how we want to and as quickly as we can. And then we've got a sort of cloud operations team, making sure that stuff we have deployed to the cloud runs well, doesn't cost us way too much money, is compliant, because especially being financial servicing, with a lot of compliance and tape to kind of break through. And each of these three areas feed into developer experience. You want to have, good pipelines, say, from the enterprise, and you want to have tools that help you get to run those pipelines quicker. You want those pipelines to output compliant things. So each of these areas contribute to it, but bringing these three areas together into one super team, one big team, it's really hard to come up with a single thing that unifies them. You can't say, I want faster pipelines, because some of the CloudOps people don't have as much to do, and it's not straightforward. So we're presented with a problem at the start of last year of we want to try and bring these teams together. How do we do that? We went through a few iterations on different sort of ideas and bits and pieces we could try. But fundamentally, all we came back to is time. And fundamentally, hours. Is hours the right answer? I think there's a handful of really enticing properties which we experienced last year. The first one is really abstract. With an exciting picture, possibly a brain mapping there. It's really abstract. You can apply it to all three of those previous areas. There's no sort of tie to a specific thing. And when you're applying it to a particular area, you can measure it in a sense however you want. You've got objective measures, my pipeline's a bit faster, or you've got subjective measures. And this is where analytics can get really interesting. Okay, if a pipeline's faster, it's faster, that's great, that's a hard number. But if you're talking about like a human-led process where you've got to go and speak to people and get stuff done, there's not really like a hard, exact time that typically takes. It takes lots of people different amounts of time based on experience and knowledge and who they know and all this kind of things. So you've got to kind of get good at going, right, I can make this process faster, and that helps us deliver better. This starts to drive up, both of these really start to drive up our analytics side of things, because you want good objective stuff, but you need to be able to reinforce your subjective measures. Importantly, and this is the important part of how the Y connects to business, it's faster to value. You either deliver faster, or in the same amount of time, you deliver hopefully more if you're moving quicker. And this is a super important one, because that's the one that we can go to our more senior leadership and go, hey, we're trying to do this because we're trying to save time because it means we can ship faster. And this is something that we'll talk a bit about more, but this is a key way to kind of get your stakeholders on board with what you're trying to do. Similar to abstract, it's accessible to all. Firstly, the teams involved. Like I say, it's abstract of like specific work, so no one's being sort of included or discluded. But especially given its sort of developer experience focus, it actually is accessible to everyone in the business. So everyone kind of knows what an hour is. We all experience time roughly the same. Right from our most junior engineers to senior leadership, everyone knows how long an hour is, how much stuff you can do in an hour. It's really easy, well, hopefully it's really easy to get people on board with this concept, for them to understand it and get contributing as well. And finally, all of this comes together to let you be really creative, because the goal is big and a bit vague in a sense, but you've got nice sort of ways to go about going for it. It lets you be creative. You can do a bit more of what you want, which is really cool. We won't point out there's a few downsides maybe. Subjectivity is scary. Like I said, you can, in a sense, it's not making up what you want, but you've got to be very careful about how you write down what you've done, and that lets people poke holes in it. That's not necessarily great. It wasn't, 50,000 hours as a goal is something that we came up with. It's not what individually these teams have been asked to do. And we can't forget that. We've got to always make sure we're actually trying to get to our business goals, but fundamentally, you've got to be a little careful with it. Right sizing is hard. Again, I think there was icebergs on some slides yesterday. If you start going down a rabbit hole, you've got to be careful not to go too far down, because at some point you may spend more time than you're saving. That's not great. And fundamentally, from the people involved, we were brand new. We started those teams existed independently beforehand, but this is the first time these teams came together. So there's an amount of we need to get our teams on board, so that they're understanding their sort of customer problems, able to address them properly, and ideally contribute back to this 50,000 goal. And fundamentally, we came to our 50,000 goal. We decided to go bold and have one goal to rule them all. 50,000 hours was chosen because it's a good amount of time. It's really easy to talk about. I think 50,000 hours sticks in your brain. I've already said it so many times in this presentation. I'll say it some more as well. But it sticks with people, and that's quite easy to sort of drill in. Fundamentally, from a business point of view, it would make profit on time invested. If we hit this goal, we're not losing time, we're making money. That's good. And paired with that, it would be stretching for us. It wasn't trivial to. It's definitely not paying about just our own time. It's paying about our time and notably more. And fundamentally, from from a business point of view, it's reinvesting a number of teams, I think, is the key words that we had to get up here to make everyone happy. OK, hopefully you got a bit of an idea that we wanted to go for this goal. We've got our teams kind of lining up now to go about it. The next important thing is, what do we actually do to get on with that? And for that, Serge is going to talk about it.
Thank you very much. Right, so we're going to go and save 50,000 hours. Question is, where do we start with? Obviously, in this case, we're trying to help our developers, our software engineers. So the way we wanted to go about it is to sort of talk to them. And they are in-house, for maybe the first time ever your customer is actually in the same building as you. You can go and talk to them and build connections and see what's slowing them down. How can you make their experience faster and better? So the first thing we did is we did a sort of market stall event where we have this sort of place in Capital One. It's called Big Picture. It's like at a junction of multiple parts of like the office where people just walk by to lunch and so forth. And we had a table with asking people to come and talk to us. We cast our net wide, like anyone can come and talk to us. Now, sorry about the next few slides. There's going to be a lot of bad photoshopping of my face onto things. So this is from New York market. We weren't in New York. We were in Capital One. But yeah, just sort of casting our net wide, talk to a lot of people and understand what's slowing them down. Then moving on to workshops with specific teams. So we, once we knew what everyone sort of thinks, we found a couple of teams which needed maybe more help and had one-on-one sort of, more close sessions with them over like a few hours. Next up, we also did one-to-one interviews with people. I didn't really interview Tom, but anyway, to understand on again, for like 20 minutes, half an hour, let's, what is slowing down, what would you want? And then from all of that, we naturally came up with a backlog of ideas. But this is a very important point to know your customer and be user-centric. And we had a bunch of ideas ourselves, but most of them were driven by the customer. Lastly, that's the way we got our ideas in, but we also made sure that throughout our journey and throughout the year, we fed back through newsletters, and in those newsletters, we also were open for more ideas throughout the year. So yeah, that's basically how we got our backlog of ideas. And with that in mind, we'll move on to what the ideas actually were. We'll talk about a few of them.
Cool. Thank you very much. So yeah, we've got our teams on board. We've got our ideas now. We're continually talking to our customers forward and backwards throughout the year around all the different wonderful ways we're trying to save time, getting them involved where necessary and kind of making sure things run smooth. And what we wanted to do, because there's quite a few ways we save time, which we'll touch on briefly towards the end, but what we're going to do for this presentation is focus on three. Some stuff about knowledge base, some stuff about support, and some stuff about pipelines, which hopefully touches a bit of soft skills and a bit of technical skills so that everyone's sort of got something to follow on from. So each of these three areas at the same time we'll talk about knowledge base first. These three icons on screen, Confluence, Slack, and people's thoughts. This is a little bit of what I think represents where knowledge is stored. If you've ever joined a new organization, imagine your first day, you've arrived, I want to go and understand how we deploy something. Where do I go? Well, I can go and search around Confluence. Maybe I find it, maybe I don't. I can go search around Slack. It's going to be very conversational, not necessarily kind of straight to the point. I can go and ask people, but maybe they're on holiday. Knowledge base can be really hard, especially in the sort of size of business we're in. We've got a US docs for sort of the tech that we reuse from them. We've got a lot of UK-centric docs. They don't always line up. I think, as we all know, things can go out of date. I think there was an expression yesterday around once someone leaves a project, it becomes abandoned immediately. It's hard to keep things up to date and alive. So we sort of took on the challenge of going, OK, we can probably do something better here. We can probably make a framework for this that actually satisfies the sort of customer need of, I need to get some knowledge. And we did that with something we call the engineering handbook. Our engineering handbook was an effort of, I can't remember how many months to launch, but it was, I think, like just over a quarter of a year to sort of get from day one to, well, from day minus however many to launch day. And fundamentally tried to boil down the entire DevOps or software delivery lifecycle, everyone has referred to it as, the entire lifecycle of deploying and looking after our code into a document store. We literally had, or there literally is still, a massive, massive diagram of every single thing you could possibly need to do, which links to either here's the UK docs for it, or here's a reference out to the US docs for it. The goal of this, which I think we kind of achieved, was let's get everyone on board, from architecture to the software resiliency teams and the general product delivery teams and all sorts of stuff, so that everyone can have a central place to go and learn. That means that everyone's hopefully invested in the same kind of tool, everyone has the same flow to update it and look after it, and we kind of get sort of compounding benefits off the back of that. When we launched it, we had over 150 pages, which was quite a lot of content, and at this point we're seeing thousands of views per month, which I think is a point we'll come back to later. I say thousands of views per month now, which we do have. We didn't know when we launched it, because this was early on in development. We launched this back in March last year. I can't remember exactly when we got analytics in, but we didn't start properly looking through the analytics until mid-year or so. And that's really helped us sort of continue on with this handbook and keeping it alive by going, okay, these are the hot spots that people are actually using. Let's make sure these are really good. The other places we can sort of put a little bit more towards the back burner. To keep this going, we've employed what we refer to as champions, which are the people that go, okay, these pages are out of date. I'll go and try and make it easy for our users to keep them up to date by just saying, yeah, all's good, or actually, no, this needs changing, and so we work with them to make sure that those contributions come in. And fundamentally, like I say, we have thousands of views a month, and I think this really has achieved some good time savings of about 8,000 hours last year, subjectively measured. But we've saved loads of time with knowledge base. But what happens when there's a production incident at midnight on Sunday, you've read all the docs, you can't solve the problem? Well, that's when you need support. I'm going to start looking for support for my problem at the top of my spaghetti dish here. And I'm going to go into my spaghetti and I'm going to start searching for my answer. Okay, well, I've looked on Slack and I saw something that's kind of similar, but not quite the answer. So I need to keep going. I'll go further through. Oh no, there's some documentation. That's not really good either. That's not answering it. This was not updated. OPRs, someone fixed something similar, but I can't quite find the exact same problem. And the code's on a new version of Java or whatever, so that's not happening either. I'm going to keep going. Stack Overflow. Well, I use lots of inner source tech, so we have internal Cat Bond stuff for that. It's not on Stack Overflow. And there's some niche knowledge that helped a little bit. Someone managed to come online and help me fix it. But fundamentally, this can be the experience of trying to look for support. And it's a bit of a mess. It's not fun. I'm sure everyone's got their own kind of horror stories around that. So again, this is an area we can go and impact this. This is a soft skills impacting our technical delivery sort of impact we've got here. And fundamentally, if anyone's seen Loki, have you recognized this? We made a central support function. I know this is going to sound a bit basic, but it's a Slack channel. Which sounds silly, but we had a review of what was going on in support pre our efforts, and we had a handful of sort of community-led Slack channels in our business, which were good, and when people had time and people asked good questions, there was help that was delivered, but it definitely wasn't absolutely everything. I don't think, we kind of had a pretty good hunch that not everyone was necessarily confident to go and use those channels. And we also had no idea, how many things are actually being solved, how long is it taking to solve those things, have we got the right people in on it? When you're such a big business as well, and you've got a load of different functions over in the US, it's hard to know which one to go and ask sometimes as well. So our plan was consolidate and then sort of fan out. I've got sort of hub and spoke model written down there because we pulled all of these SMEs into a central new Slack channel, put on a bit of a rota, made sure there's reward and recognition for those community members still contributing actively as well. And had this as a central place that we advertised over everyone to go, hey, if you've got a problem, come here, ask the question. The goal is that we've got SMEs in place to either give you this is probably your answer, let's make sure it gets resolved, or it's I know where to go over here, and the answer will be over here. I think this started out pretty fantastically. It has massive traffic and still does have massive traffic to this day. It's been praised by a lot of our sort of stakeholder-y, sponsory people sort of around the business for sort of saying, okay, this has actually helped us deliver faster, which is fantastic feedback. But I think importantly, because we've got kind of actually dedicated SMEs to this, and it is a central place rather than a distributed sort of way of finding support, we are noticing more and more that there is reuse of knowledge, and if people have found an answer, they've found it, they've actually been able to sort of self-serve, and things are looking cool. The bottom bullet point here, it's an estimate on the before times, but based on that sort of testimonials from people around and the fact that we know that not everyone was actually going for support, we think most things took over into days to sort of fix. Based on our more analytical approach now, using stuff we can pull out of Slack and again user feedback as well, we're pretty confident that the average resolution time for basically any problem is under 2 hours, which is quite a significant burn down, which is really fantastic to see. But with that, Let Serge talk a little bit about some pipeline times, because those are really important as well.
Indeed. Now, I like pipelines. Maybe I'm one of the few in the room who does like them. Now, hand up if your company uses deployment pipelines, CI/CD. Anyone? Wow. OK, great. So hopefully this is going to be relevant. You came to the right talk. I see them as a bit of a necessary evil. They are great. You know, they sort of add automated testing. They add security scans. They add a lot of things. You know, and you can probably do like a whole talk on just what pipelines are. And actually, we did. Back in 2022 at Capital One, we came and did a whole talk on our new deployment pipeline, which we introduced back then since sort of 2020 time, which unifies all of our deployments under the same kind of application and tool. Which was good, but often you kind of find once you have this centralized place where you can add security scans and compliance checks and so forth and automated tests, they end up slowing down. And maybe I can even reuse Tom's slide of spaghetti. Maybe your pipelines are very similar to that in that you don't know what they do. They're kind of bulky. They maybe take a long time. And it's not OK. You know, so many things happen in them. So we had to do something to make sure that when our developers write some code, they can get to the AWS cloud ASAP. With that said, I'm going to talk about the Formula One. You're probably wondering, what do pipelines have to do with the Formula One? You know, if you're Lewis Hamilton, you're driving at 20 miles an hour trying to keep Max Verstappen behind, or well, not nowadays. And meanwhile, when I'm running a pipeline, I'm sipping on some coffee, browsing Reddit, right? Like, what is the relation there? Well, I think pipelines in the Formula One are similar when it comes to construction. So now, if you're not a fan of the F1, just please bear with for like a few minutes. But when you build an F1 car, there's a minimum weight limit of 800 kilograms. Every team needs to meet this for performance reasons. Now, imagine you build an F1 car and you do a really good job. You're like 99% there, and you're just 1% off. Well, then you get 8 kilograms overweight. That's 1% of 800, which in the F1 is actually a lot. So that slows you down about 0.3 a lap. Now, if you want to have a sense of sort of scale, we just had a race in Miami, which was pole was won by 0.5. That's 0.06 seconds. So that's 5 times less. So really, if you're an F1 team and you're 1% off, that's not good. Over a whole race distance, that's 15 seconds. Again, in Miami, the race was won by, I want to say, 5 seconds. Again, if you build a car that's 15 seconds slower, you might as well just stay home. The lesson here is that you need to be as perfect as you can be and try to, you know, in like our case with the pipelines, get to the limitations of the CPU and try to use concurrency as much as possible and so forth to make sure that we're as fast as humanly possible, because even 1%, when you scale it up over all of the pipelines that run at Capital One, for example, it really holds you back. From a student AI. So this is a project that I was part of back in university. This was my first job, and we had to build an autonomous self-driving car. You again might be wondering, how is this related to pipelines? So this is a similar sort of story where the autonomous car naturally had a vision algorithm. So this is we're back to code, right? So you have to write some code which processes frames, right? So you take images, you process them, and then you do a command: turn left, turn right, go forward. Now, say you build an algorithm that processes the frames at 20 FPS. That's 50 seconds per every image which is captured. 50 milliseconds, that is. Now, if you're a gamer, if you play games, which probably most of you do, 20 FPS is not playable, right? Like, that is not good. How do you improve it? Well, you want to go to something like 30 FPS at least. And you know, I'm seeing there if you're a PC gamer, fair enough, you want 120, 240 hertz. Me too. But let's just talk about this for now. How do you get from 20 to 30? To get 50% faster processing in this algorithm, you have to find just 17 milliseconds, right? Because that one processed frame happens so many times. So you don't care about the whole system. You care about just when the image gets taken to when the next one runs in a while loop. You have to find 17 milliseconds to be 50% faster. And this is, again, similar to pipelines. So yeah, the lesson is that every frame counts, and you need to be nearly perfect. So how does that relate to pipelines? I can't sort of talk about exactly what Capital One looks like, but I'll give a couple of examples of sort of what your company might look like. Your logo goes there, got this straight off of Google. I'm going to give 2 example companies. NextGen AI Limited, probably your company nowadays. So you have 40 engineers, and each engineer runs 5 pipelines per like day. Each one individually, maybe has to wait for an extra few minutes at a time. You don't care. Every one person goes and makes a cup of tea and goes home. Okay, fair enough. Waits for the pipeline to finish. But that actually, when you add it up, and yes, I did want to say 50,000 again, it comes up to 50,000 pipelines per year. Now, if you can imagine improving that by a few minutes or a few hours, you get a lot of sort of savings. I mean, if you save just 1 hour per pipeline in that company, you can go and do this talk next year. Right. Let's say you have a different company, Trust Me Bro Incorporated, a medical startup which does AI. Just trust them, it's fine. It's a bigger company. Let's say you have 200 engineers, each run 10 pipelines per day. You might be thinking my company's bigger, smaller, we run more pipelines, less. The point is, in this company, you would end up with 500,000 pipelines every single year. And again, things scale up quick. So you need to care about every single pipeline and every single operation in that pipeline to make sure that you don't end up wasting a lot of time in your company because you want to get to cloud quickly. Cool. So that's the theory, right? Like that's the mindset you should approach. You should do those steps and really kind of question your pipelines and make them faster. How do we make ours faster? So I'll give a small anecdote here. Now, firstly, this is to do with Docker. So I'm a mere mortal. I asked ChatGPT to make me a photo for like the slide. And we'll do a hand up if this is cursed. Anyone think this is cursed? Okay, a few. Is this blessed? Is it a great photo? Okay, right, no one. Fair enough. But yes, so I asked it for a Docker fast car. There you go. But yeah, our story begins. We use Docker at Capital One. You probably use it on like your company. Now, there's a sort of subtle difference between using docker.stop and docker.kill. One of them sounds worse as well. But the very important thing is that usually docker.stop waits for an extra 2 seconds before killing the processes, whereas docker.kill just kills them ASAP. We realized in our company that we didn't actually need this functionality. This was added once when it was required to wait for those extra 2 seconds. But we realized nowadays it's not needed. And they run this sort of command, which was running in our pipelines. This sleep was happening many times per pipeline. Similarly, we have many pipelines run every year. With that said, once we took it out, we saved 6,000 hours with just a few lines of code. This is sort of thinking that if you look at like a bit of code and you see like a 2 second, like a docker.stop and you just leave it. But actually, if you ask a question like, what does that do? You realize it sleeps for 2 seconds. You might say, yeah, but who cares about 2 seconds, right? Well, yeah, but it compounds, right? So your inefficiencies or your efficiencies will compound. So turn them into efficiencies. The one thing I'll say is that in this effort in 2024, in saving all of these hours, this is one of the things we did, but we did a lot of things. We had over 18 pieces of work, individual. More than 20 engineers sort of helped save all of these hours. The sort of lesson is you can't just find that like, I don't know, really, I mean, maybe you will find that like really slow bit of code, but most often than not, more often than not, you will have to really challenge your assumptions and leave no code behind and try to make it nearly perfect to be really efficient. Cool, so that's knowledge base, support, pipelines covered. What was the result?
What was the result indeed?
I'll hand back over to Tom.
Oh, thank you very much. And yeah, how did we do? There's a big red curtain. I'm going to ask for a little bit more interpretation. If you could have a little bit of a drum roll, please. We did it!
Hey.
Woo! Okay, hey. So yeah, we did it. There's some text on the slide. I'll explain what that means. So this is a representation of our experience. If I talk about materialized hours saved, that is, to date, these amount of hours has definitely been saved. It's happened in the past. This is not that. This is whenever we save time, we're projecting, by the end of the year, this will have accumulated this much time, say, This is our journey of whenever we deliver something, we write it down and say, OK, that's going to be time saved by the end of the year. And if you look closely, we came quite close towards the end of the year. There's just a couple of things I want to call out on here. Firstly, this is a fantastic way to experience doing this kind of goal, this kind of cumulative over time thing, because it feels very rewarding every time you do that. Very rewarding for sort of us as people contributing to it, and fantastically rewarding for, I think, the community when you go, oh, we've actually hit a new milestone. I also want to call out where it's scary. So the last 15K, that comes in sort of September-ish. So if you look at the graph and go, OK, what are we doing in September? We've saved, rounding a little bit, we've done about 2/3 of our goal, and we've got about 1/3 of the year left. That sounds fantastic. We're perfectly on track. Well, no, because if you're saving times in, let's say, pipelines, it's a pretty good example, those reoccur. So I make something, I do my Docker sleep kill thing. I save 2 seconds per pipeline run. That saves time cumulatively throughout the year. That saves time from now to the end of the year. It doesn't save time from the start of 2024, which means that when you've got 1/3 of your year left, if you're just focusing on recurring savings, you've got to do 3 or 4 times the work because it's going to not have that reward in 2024, which is a point of not necessarily good or bad. It's just an interesting point of you need to be very careful in setting goals because you can end up sort of putting yourself in corners if you're not careful, not having enough time to do something, even though if you did it early in the year, it would have been enough time. That was also at a point at which we ran a really good workshop to get our customers back in and go, hey, look, we've got these last bits. What are the real key things that are hurting you for the rest of the year? Which is important because we're making it relevant to the year as well. We're helping Cap 1 deliver then, not in the future. Well, in the future as well, but specifically then. As a bit of a breakdown, this is a very rough pie chart of the things. So we've talked about pipeline, knowledge base, and support. The other things to call out, inner sourcing was a big blob. I didn't talk about it, but it can kind of be summarized as our developer experience team is quite lucky in that we've got a lot of pretty skilled engineers that can effectively be deployed and go and help. So we had a mix of sort of consultancy and doing libraries and bits and pieces like that to go, sort of help use our expertise not only in our sort of delivery teams, but in other people's as well. Those things like compliance and tooling, that's focused on effectively making it easier for people to become compliant for sort of whatever way we found, and then making sure people have got the tools to deliver smoothly, including really simple things like just let's have a Chrome extension that adds links to GitHub to your Jenkins builds and so on and stuff like that. It's the simple things that can actually save a massive amount of time when you implement them right and it accumulates over a year. And that's it for UK saving hours. However, there is a little bit more to that story.
Indeed. And Tom, so if you notice the foreshadowing from Tom earlier in the presentation in that we are in Capital One UK, right? Company's bigger, it's much bigger than that, and I think it's no secret that it's bigger in the US and in Canada, which makes sense. All of these savings, actually, sort of some of them. So, for example, the Slack channel, okay, that is UK only. That we're only going to count the time saved there. But for example, when it comes to the pipelines, it is a unified platform that all of the enterprise uses, and we can essentially get for free. Even though we're focusing on just the UK, we can for free get savings in the enterprise. So, scale's giving me away a little bit here. Right, drum roll for enterprise savings. Here we go. Ta-da! Almost 370,000 hours. Now, you can watch Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to do it. I don't know, a lot of times. Probably too many times. There is such a number. But yeah, these are real hours that mostly will materialize from pipelines that we are saving every single year, and these savings compound over multiple years as well, which is incredible. And if you have cloud compute, most of those will mean human time, but will also mean CPU time saved as well. So you can do a calculation to see how much money you've actually also saved. Right. With that said, we've won. We've done it. We achieved the goal. We have some enterprise bonus hours, which actually end up being more, which is funny. Let's celebrate. We also need to care about the experience of developer experience. Think about that. So what do we do? Well, we started by trying to, again, just like in a sort of newsletter kind of idea, shouting about the work we've done. The old story with if a tree falls in a forest, no one's there to see it. Does it actually fall? It's the same with this work. If we don't shout about it, did it actually happen? So we want to tell people about it. This is a live photo of me writing my blog. No, it's actually not because I'm not left-handed. But anyway, myself, some other people have written blogs to explain the journey we went on, to try to encourage customers to do these sort of things. We've written some LinkedIn posts because everything's on LinkedIn nowadays. Fair enough. Again, we have some engagement outside of Capital One as well. We have also done external conferences. Hello, Devox. We want to tell you about the stuff we've done as well because we want to inspire you. And then lastly, as I said, we wanted to have some fun with our own team. Now, again, I asked Google for a photo for fun. Now, this might land, this might not land, but I got this. You know the song? Anyone? OK, We Are Young, fun. Check it out. It's a great song. But yes, we also had some internal team fun. We went and did laser tag events, bowling, got pizza probably. And yeah, a bunch of things to make sure that we stayed engaged in our goals and sort of to prepare for next year. But I'll hand over to Tom.
But there's still everyone else to consider. We spent all year trying to talk to our customers, make sure they're happy, make sure they're involved. They want to give it. We want their ideas from them. We want them to proactively kind of seek us out if they've got new ideas. So they put a lot of effort in. They've put up with us saying the word 50,000 to them far too many times. But what about everyone else? Is an absolutely valid question when it comes to celebration. These goals, especially shaped around here, are great because if you achieve them, it means you're probably achieving them towards the end of the year. And that means you get to do something a bit fun and festive. And here's Serge looking really fun and festive at far too early in the morning, 8:30, I think. We did this. If you can't see that clearly, because I appreciate it's quite small, that is a screen. That's actually the big picture thing that Serge mentioned earlier, kind of our central hub that basically everyone goes past in the Nottingham office. And that website is a massive pixel grid over a photo. And when people click on a pixel, it uncovers the pixel. To get the kind of serious, the business engagement, when you click on a pixel, it goes, hey, this was this time saved. Our Chrome extensions say saved you this time, and who did it as well, to sort of bring a bit more of a human element to it. But also, there's lots of stuff down there. You can win some prizes, which is great. Move it on a little bit. That's when it's sort of halfway done. But on this slide, I think trying to point out one of the more key bits of this this kind of exercise is that all these cursors done through some wizardry with WebSockets is everyone playing right now. That's across our Nottingham office, across our London office, and the remote teams that we've got as well. They're all on here and having a good time together. The people in the office are also having fun stuff. Naturally, there was a tech all hands on the day that we did this, and there was that one guy at the back of the office, the back of the room, that had the klaxon go off when he won a prize halfway through the tech all hands, which was fantastic. And fundamentally, it results in the whole thing being revealed. And hey, we did 50,000. That was great fun. But yeah, the key thing to take away is have fun in general, but have fun with the people that you're achieving stuff with. And for us, that was everyone in the business. When I was blurring the names out, I actually saw that up to the level of VP were playing this game, which makes me very satisfied. Clear the carry a little bit, which is cool. And that brings us to the end of 2024. So now it's a question of what's next? What are we using?
Right. So unfortunately, we can't get early lunch just yet. We have to talk about this year because we can't just relax and do 50,000 hours and stop because we want to come to Devox again next year. So we have to have a goal for this year. Before I reveal the goal, obviously we're going to go again. It's going to be bigger. But we've learned some key lessons as well. So one thing which we could have done better last year is to kind of celebrate wins and have small milestones along the way. It's a big number, 50,000. You can already think of maybe 10, 25, 40, whatever, maybe every 10, a milestone to celebrate. That also, the whole thing is, the point is to gamify it, and you can gamify it to those milestones as well. So that's something we've learned from last year, which we're going to be applying this year, which we have been applying this year because it's May. Let data and value drive our decisions. We already did a bunch of this last year, but we only, like Tom mentioned, we only started sort of maybe around March time, maybe around April, to kind of really lean into this. But we realized that those workshops and interviews, they were the most valuable things which we could have gone for. And then combining the subjective experience of someone with real sort of hard data makes you, well, like helps you understand what the value is and what to go after, which has been great so far this year. This is something that ended up surprising us because last year we thought, okay, we're gonna like start this effort, we're gonna do the big work at the beginning, and then quick wins will dry up, and then that's it. But now actually we found that like quick wins are always around the corner. So the more we did something, the more we improved the process, other things would just emerge and like make sense to, oh, actually now this makes a lot of sense to go after, and it becomes easier to go after a certain problem and fix it and save even more time. And then lastly, we also realized that it is possible to have too many metrics and to save 50,000 hours too many times, but not just yet today. So also in keeping our customers engaged, our developers engaged, tell stories, right? So okay, we saved this many hours, but actually to an individual, what does that mean? We've again, they've not had to go through this compliance check, this barrier, or maybe even when it comes to pipelines, we can say. Which we did do last year, we made them about 30 to 40% faster. So one individual person, instead of waiting X time, they're waiting 40% less. So tell a story about this one developer in this one team or a team, and how did you help them to engage people even more and get more buy-in from stakeholders naturally. Cool. So this is where we were. Big reveal. The new goal is 125,000 hours. Rolls off the tongue a little bit less good, but it is interestingly a continuation actually. So this new number is going to measure our impact over the 2 years because, like Tom said, things do recur. So actually, it is most useful to remember the stuff we've done last year and kind of let that carry on and capture the full goal. So how are we going to get there? Before that, sorry, my slides. It's now also a UK Tech objective. Maybe that sort of Reddit-style game we did, and the VP playing it helped get our impact out there. And now it is a UK Tech objective. It's been recognized by our head of tech, and it's tracked at the business level, which is great for us because it means we get even more buy-in to do the things we love to do. How are we going to get there, finally? It's currently a squiggly line. We're not sure how we're going to get there, but it's by doing the things we've already been great at, and we will get to the moon again, or even more times, 500 times. Cool. With that said, I'll hand back over to Tom for a little reflection and to end the presentation.
The bring it home bit. Thank you, Serge.
Bring it home.
Yeah, at this point, we just want to sort of really drive home the key bits. A reflection on our goal last year. It's not perfect. It's pretty good. I think, in fact, it's very good. It was really good for us to be able to easily talk to our customers, easily get them on board with what's going on, how they need to think, and what we sort of can contribute and collaborate on. It's not perfect because things like recurring hours get more, you have less confidence in them the further on in the year you go. It's not trivial to then plan 2025 either. It's not easy to come to the goal that we did come to. But it gives you a really strong north wind, and like I say, if we go all the way back to the start, those 3 different teams could all get involved and contribute to it. And because of that, and like we pointed out, given it's now a tech objective, it's good for stakeholders too. We got feedback from around the business on the things that we did. We got feedback from high up in the business about what we did. That's clearly been continued on. It was great for us as engineers. We feel good about what we're doing. And clearly, kind of everyone's with us. I want to give an analogy to kind of help inspire. Can you save 50,000 hours or something similar? Fundamentally, if we boil it back to the most abstract level we can, we write code, hopefully we make money. That's, I think, what most businesses want to do when they're tech. But don't forget about the magic in the middle. 50,000 hours of time is, saving that as a goal is kind of a proxy metric, if you like. If that's not, we've delivered this new feature, this new product, we've not got so many more customers. Those are business goals, and those will happen. But saving 50,000 hours helps them happen. It's really important to helping them happen. You need your developers to be productive and happy and feel engaged. So think about this magic in the middle, this proxy metric, say, and if you can do it. So our final key points. Be customer-centric, talk to your customers, make sure you understand them, make sure they understand you as well, if you can. Be analytical, try and write down what you're doing, make educated decisions, make sure you're not investing too much time for the reward. And finally, be bold, be confident, have faith in what you're doing, and go for it. I apologize for the next slide because it is horrifically cheesy. But if you're sitting there thinking, I want to be bold because I've got customer-centric skills, I've got analytical skills, but I don't feel like my current job fits, naturally, there's a QR code for our job site. You can come and work with us. We are hiring in our teams. There's lots of other teams as well, right from general software engineering levels up to distinguished engineer. There we go. That's that slide done. But that's us. Thank you for listening. It's been fantastic to be here. We've got QR codes for our LinkedIn and job site as well. But we hope you feel like you've learned something today, and if you don't have any feedback for us, it's our first time, so we'd love to hear it. We'll stick around for questions, but again, thank you very much. Lovely stuff. We do have 5 minutes, and we've got a handful of questions, so sorry, I appreciate that was running away. But we'll stick around for a few 5 and get some answers. So you mentioned user input to understand opportunities. A frazzled dev space might not know what can help them. How do you find the hidden opportunities? Hidden opportunities is a good one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think, and this definitely happened for us, in that often people and customers do not know what they want exactly. I think a very good thing to do is to try to sort of put yourself in your customer's shoes. Try to deploy a Lambda through your deployment system. Try to go and raise a new compliance check or do something in your company, and try to really be analytical about the steps you're taking. Where are you context switching? Try to be on that journey. So that can often help you tease out the hidden wins.
Yeah, I also call out that a conference we went to later in the year, which serves as an inspiration for this year, they talked a lot about value stream mapping. I'm trying to deploy a Lambda, say, to the cloud. Actually go through all the steps and go, do I need this? Can I make this smaller? That kind of helps you navigate through some of these bits as well.
Right. Next up, how did you measure that you actually saved 50,000 hours?
Through a lot of objective and subjective measures. So the objective ones are kind of obvious. We ran some pipelines. We've got people running pipelines already. We can see how long they take. We make some changes and do them faster. We upgraded over the year kind of our analytics sort of in pipelines and other bits that we did so that we could have dashboards and cool stuff that shows, OK, this is definitely sort of boiling down time here. We could sort of prove through numbers that we're saving time. The subjective time, as I kind of alluded to at the start, it's a bit of a scary one because lots of different people have different perspectives on things, different experiences and knowledge. And also different expectations can boil into that too. And fundamentally, most of the subjective things came down to judgment across our set of teams, talking to the customers that we impacted, and fundamentally going, OK, we believe this process maybe took a week before, you can now do it in a day. OK, that's 4 days of your time saved. That's quite 4 days of your working time saved, to be clear. That's a fair amount of time. That feels great. That we summed it together and got our beautiful goal.
Indeed. What about the overhead of time needed to maintain the handbook and the time spent by engineers to monitor the support channel? Is that measured cumulatively? Again,
it's a really fun one to poke in that it's not a perfect goal, because obviously we're spending time, right? We spend time, but we're trying to save time. And this is what I referred to at the start, talking about, we're trying to make profit on our time. If we do stuff and save exactly our time's worth of time, we've not really saved anything. So overhead is sort of booked in and managed. It's a little bit on a kind of case-by-case basis. But for the handbook itself, it's effectively part of day job now for some of our teams in developer experience. Fundamentally, the time we're spending isn't necessarily subtract from that time, because we are spending the time and it's not extra time as such that we're wasting. Because we've got that leadership buy-in, it kind of gives us permission to, OK, we can go and invest in this. It saves net everyone else's time, therefore we're kind of justifying a value. And we're investing in sort of good resources and tech bases that keep us going into the future.
Well said. Yeah?
Yeah, go on.
Yes, please.
I'm not sure I can answer that straight. It's not a huge team. I'm going to say low tens, but I can't go with a specific number. Yeah, that's fair. I appreciate it. We've been a bit playing around numbers, but yeah, we've got a reasonable amount of people. If people go on holiday, it's fine, obviously.
Yeah, and the other thing to mention as well is that in saving these hours, we've also had help from the community as well. So we have had like over 20 engineers, both from our outcome team and from other teams as well, that wanted to just make a difference and help out, which was great to see. So if you get your community on board, you can get even more resource really to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and that's why the leadership buy-in is useful, because if we have handbook pages that need to be filled out by our architecture team, we kind of have permission to go, hey, architecture, can you bookmark some time to help fill out these pages to make sure they're right?
Thank you.
We've got 17 seconds, so I think we'll pause there. But like I say, thank you again very much for coming and listening. Come ask us more if you'd like to hear more from myself and Serge. And cheers. Have a lovely rest of your day.